There are moments in life that make you completely collapse. Moments when it feels like the whole world has turned its back on you, when all your beliefs crumble and you no longer know who to rely on. You feel lost, alone, betrayed, and abandoned. You look back at all the efforts, all the hopes you once held, and it seems like nothing has meaning anymore. Everything you built suddenly shatters, leaving a cold emptiness in your heart. Anyone can fall into such a rock bottom point, a dark place where even the light of hope feels like a luxury. But have you ever wondered, is it possible to turn that pain into a source of strength? Is there a way to transform this very fall into a launch pad for a stronger, more resilient you? Right in that place that seems like the end, you can discover a philosophy that has been tested for thousands of years, Stoicism. This philosophy does not force you to abandon your emotions or become numb. On the contrary, Stoicism shows you how to control those very emotions so they do not consume you. It teaches you to see reality clearly, to accept pain, to accept failure, and to transform it all into raw material to rebuild yourself. It gives you the only true power humans really possess, the power to master your own thoughts and actions. You cannot stop the storms out there. You cannot force others to behave exactly as you expect, but you can always decide how you will respond, how you will perceive everything. In that very choice, Stoicism grants you a wonderful power, the power of inner strength, steady and unshakable. Instead of continuing to complain, instead of blaming fate, Stoicism advises you to focus on becoming a better version of yourself every single day through the very pain you have endured. You might not believe it yet, but countless people around the world have risen from the depths of despair thanks to this philosophy. And right at this moment, if you are ready to listen, the story of Stoicism will begin, helping you stand up from the very place where you fell and turn your pain into power. Part 1. Collapse and a Ray of Hope. Have you ever felt like the whole world collapsed right under your feet? When everything you once trusted, once tried so hard to build, suddenly fell apart in a single moment? Maybe it was losing a relationship, losing a job, your health breaking down, or simply realizing that what you had been chasing all along did not truly bring you happiness. When these things happen, we often drown in a sense of hopelessness. An emptiness spreads, followed by pain and anxiety, making you feel like there's no way out. In those moments, any advice can sound meaningless. You easily fall into a state of blaming others, blaming society, blaming yourself, and feeling that life is unfair. You wonder why you have to suffer so much and why others seem happier. But right in those darkest moments, the seed of hope can be planted, even if very quietly. Maybe a friend, a book, or a random quote brought you a new idea, the idea of Stoicism. Stoicism does not teach you to deny pain, nor does it force you to pretend to be strong. It simply invites you to see the true nature of the world, that people always act for their own interests, whether they love you or hurt you. They have their reasons, their beliefs, their own needs, and most of the time they are not fully aware of the impact their actions cause. This may sound even more disappointing at first, but in fact it is a profound liberation. Because if you cannot change them, then you no longer have to strain yourself trying to control them. You only need to control yourself. You can choose how to react, choose how to perceive, choose which actions will protect your peace, and what is worth letting go. That is the key. True freedom lies in the ability to regulate yourself, not in trying to control the outside world. When you understand that, you will start to break free from the endless cycle of blame and resentment. Instead, you turn inward, exploring what you can change about yourself. Changing your thinking, changing your attitude, changing your goals. That sense of agency is like a small light flickering in the dark, igniting a new ray of hope. It makes you believe that no matter how harsh the world is, you still have the right to decide how to respond to it. From this initial idea, the journey of Stoicism begins to unfold. You can learn how to accept pain without surrendering to it. You train patience and discipline so that negative emotions do not sweep you away. You learn to ask yourself, do I truly have control over this? If the answer is no, then it is best to let it go. But if the answer is yes, then focus all your strength on improving it. Little by little, you will realize that every upheaval can become an opportunity for training. Failures, losses, injustices will no longer be burdens that crush you forever, but instead become materials for your growth, helping you see clearly what is truly valuable and what is merely superficial. That is precisely when a new journey begins, the journey of learning to master your inner world, to find peace again, and to live steadily no matter how fierce the storms of life may be. Stoicism is not an easy path, but it gives you a precious compass so you do not lose your way amidst the harsh turbulence of life. And the moment you realize that inner freedom has always been in your hands, that light of hope will shine even brighter, guiding you onward with courage and serenity. Part 2. Regaining control. In modern life, it is so easy to feel like you are losing control. Every day we are surrounded by expectations from society, family, colleagues, and even social media. The standards of success, happiness, fame make us chase after them in exhaustion and forget the most important thing, the power to master ourselves. Stoicism reminds us that if we want a steady and meaningful life, we must learn to return inward, to build inner strength, and to master ourselves. Mastering yourself does not mean denying emotions or becoming a cold machine. On the contrary, Stoicism teaches us to recognize our emotions, to understand them, and then to choose our response with reason. Instead of letting anger, fear, or envy drive our behavior, we can pause, reflect, and decide which action truly serves our values. This is precisely inner strength, the ability to master the mind, not letting it be pulled by circumstances or other people. In addition, Stoicism also advises us to control our expectations. How many times have you felt disappointed because things did not go your way? How many times have you felt angry because others did not behave as you hoped? Most of that suffering comes from unreasonable expectations. We set standards that are too high for everything and for ourselves, then torture ourselves when we fail to meet them. Instead, learn to adjust your expectations to something more realistic, accepting that the world is full of variables and that people are inherently imperfect. Once you can moderate your expectations, your disappointments will greatly diminish, and you will feel lighter and freer. On this path of training, Stoicism emphasizes that progress is more important than perfection. No one can change overnight. No one is so strong that they never make mistakes. The important thing is that you stay aware of moving forward, even if just a small step. Remember that perfecting yourself is a long process, sometimes very difficult, but even tiny bits of progress each day will make a huge difference. Accepting your own limitations does not mean giving up, but understanding yourself clearly so you can make a more realistic and sustainable plan. To maintain this journey, patience and discipline are indispensable tools. Patience helps you stand firm when results do not come immediately, while discipline keeps you on track, preventing you from falling into procrastination or temptation. A true Stoic understands that the greatest victory does not lie in conquering others, but in conquering yourself. Every time you overcome a bad habit, an impulsive reaction, or a fear, you are strengthening your control over your life. This control is not about controlling the world or forcing others to follow your will, but rather an inner control, your thoughts, beliefs, values, and actions. Once you have mastered your inner world, you will no longer be shaken by external changes. Whether someone insults you, whether your job fails, whether life throws you countless challenges, you can still face them calmly because you have learned to master your own responses. That is precisely the foundation for a peaceful, strong, and meaningful life. Regaining control is also about reclaiming yourself, a version that is more resilient, more confident, and more steadfast. And from those steady steps, you will be ready to move forward toward new heights without fearing being swept away by the storms of life. Part 3. Navigating relationships. In this life, relationships play an important role because humans are inherently social beings. We seek connection, friendship, love, and recognition. But these very relationships can also become the source of great suffering if we do not know how to navigate them mindfully. Stoicism offers a clear and insightful perspective so you can understand, appreciate, and manage relationships without losing yourself. Stoicism teaches that each person has their own values, beliefs, and priorities. They act based on their own interests or worldview, not yours. This means no one is born to live entirely according to your expectations, just as you should not tie your joy or peace to someone else's reactions, attitudes, or choices. When you expect too much from those around you, hoping they will always treat you kindly, always agree, always understand you, disappointment becomes inevitable. On the other hand, if you understand that everyone has their own battles and priorities, you will have fewer expectations and find it easier to empathize, and you will not let disappointment destroy your inner peace. An important principle that Stoicism emphasizes is maintaining a healthy emotional distance. This does not mean you are cold or indifferent, but simply that you do not cling excessively. You can love, care, and share sincerely, yet still preserve a private space within yourself, so that if loss, betrayal, or change happens, you will not completely collapse. This distance helps you maintain self-control and prevents you from being swept away by relationship turbulence. True friendship, in the Stoic spirit, is a friendship that endures tests and hardships. A good friend is not someone who always agrees with you, but someone who is willing to point out your weaknesses, encourage you to grow, and support you in difficult times. A lasting relationship is not built on temporary comfort or convenience, but is forged through challenges and even disagreements. When you can face obstacles together, forgive, and continue to walk alongside each other, that is the true mark of friendship. Besides friendship, love also needs to be navigated with wisdom. Stoicism advises us to love with all our heart, but also with reason. See clearly each other's values and limitations. Do not blindly idealize your partner, and do not let love become total dependence. If love makes you lose yourself, makes you trade away your peace, then that is no longer healthy love. Ultimately, the key to maintaining relationships is protecting your inner peace. When you know clearly who you are, what values you want to keep, what boundaries you need to set, you will not be manipulated or taken advantage of. You can still offer kindness, but not turn yourself into an easy target. You can be willing to support, but not lose your own decision-making power. Navigating relationships requires a delicate balance between connection and independence. You learn how to share joy, shoulder sorrow, yet still hold firm to your inner axis, a place where you remain confident, self-reliant, and capable of recovering if everything falls apart. Because above all, Stoicism reminds you that no one is responsible for carrying your happiness except you. When you maintain a healthy emotional distance, you will love more fully, more sincerely, without fear. You will have the strength to accept change and loss because you know that no matter what happens, your core values remain intact. And that is one of the most important keys to building deep, lasting relationships without sacrificing your inner peace. Part 4. Facing Adversity. On the journey of life, no one can avoid hardship. It could be the loss of a loved one, failure at work, a broken relationship, or simply unexpected challenges that shake you to the core. Many people see adversity as an enemy, something to avoid at all costs. But through the lens of Stoicism, adversity is not so frightening. It is like an exercise for the soul, an opportunity to train resilience and nurture inner strength. When facing pain, the natural human reflex is to avoid or resist it, but try to pause and observe. Every feeling of pain, every disappointment holds within it a message that there is something to be learned and changed. Stoicism advises you not to bury or deny pain, but to look straight at it and ask, what is this pain trying to teach me? Maybe it is pointing out weaknesses you need to strengthen, bad habits you should let go of, or the truly important values you have forgotten. Pain, when accepted and observed mindfully, will become a catalyst for your growth. It helps you recognize your own limits, while also opening opportunities to expand them. You learn how to stand up after falling, how to become stronger after each wound. Resilience is not something you are born with. It is built through countless times of falling and getting back up. This ability to adapt is exactly what has allowed humanity to survive and thrive for thousands of years. One extremely important thing in the process of facing adversity is changing your mindset. If you only focus on the losses and injustices, you will easily drown in anger, bitterness, or even hatred. Those emotions can burn you from the inside, leaving you exhausted without solving the problem. Stoicism reminds you that you can choose another way. Rise up with a clear purpose. Instead of letting adversity destroy you, turn it into a springboard to build a better version of yourself. Ask yourself, how can I grow from this very hardship? That question will help you move out of a victim mindset and into one of proactive ownership. When you actively search for meaning in adversity, it no longer has power over your mind. You reclaim the right to decide, and that alone brings you freedom. Stoicism views adversity as an indispensable part of life. Just as the body is trained through heavy exercise, the soul is forged through challenges. A person who has never experienced pain can easily collapse when true crises strike, while someone who has learned to face and learn from adversity will always maintain calm and a powerful capacity to adapt. Life does not promise to be easy, but precisely because of that, it is worth living. Every challenge is an opportunity to prove to yourself that you are stronger than you think. And then, when you look back, you will feel grateful even for those dark moments, because thanks to them, you have grown, become more courageous, and understood the true value of life more deeply. Remember, adversity is not an enemy, but a strict teacher. When you dare to face it, dare to learn from it, you will rise above and turn pain into motivation. From there, you will not just survive, but live in a much stronger and more meaningful way. Part 5. Faith and Virtue. In a world full of volatility and uncertainty, so many people feel lost and unanchored. They get swept up in the whirlpool of superficial success, of comparisons, of other people's judgments, and then when they encounter failure or rejection, they collapse completely. Stoicism reminds us that the strongest anchor does not come from outside, but from your own faith in yourself. Believing in your own value, in your ability to overcome challenges, in the good qualities you cultivate, that is the solid foundation that helps you stay resilient through every storm. When you believe in yourself, you are no longer overly dependent on praise, recognition, or other people's evaluations. You know clearly what you stand for, what limits you cannot accept, and you are willing to defend them. This very faith will help you make wiser and braver decisions. But faith alone is not enough. Stoicism also emphasizes virtue as a guiding light. Virtue is the compass for all your actions and thoughts. When you live with virtue, you act with kindness, honesty, and integrity, placing long-term benefits and the well-being of others above short-term desires. Virtue helps you feel worthy of yourself, and from there, build lasting self-respect. Many people confuse self-respect with arrogance, but in truth, self-respect comes from knowing you have lived in line with your core values. Whether the world praises or criticizes you, whether circumstances change, you can still hold your head high because you have acted according to reason and conscience. That inner peace is more precious than any material reward. Stoicism also reminds us that change is inevitable. Everything around us changes. People, circumstances, emotions, health, age. Resisting change only brings you more pain and helplessness. Instead, learn to accept and adapt. When you can see change as a natural law, you will feel lighter and more flexible. No longer clinging to what is past, you can proactively find ways to rise in new circumstances, unlocking opportunities you never noticed before. On this journey, reason is the lighthouse that helps you stay on course. Emotions can flare up strongly, especially when you feel fear, anxiety, or anger. But acting based on impulsive emotions often leads to mistakes and regret. Stoicism advises us to always pause, use reason to illuminate our actions, to ensure that we are not being controlled by fear or anger, but are truly acting according to our values and long-term goals. Ultimately, Stoicism emphasizes that only your choices truly belong to you. Everything external, money, status, reputation, can be taken away in an instant. But no one can steal your choice of how to react, your choice of attitude, your choice to uphold your virtue. Those choices are what build your courage, what shape who you are. When you combine faith in yourself with virtue, you will have a solid foundation to weather any turbulence. No matter what challenges life throws at you, you can still stand firm because you know what is truly important. And that is also the path that leads to inner freedom, a freedom not dependent on luck or circumstances, but born from the power of self-mastery. Part 6. Mastering Your Own Life. One of the most powerful messages of Stoicism is this reminder: you are fully responsible for your own life. It might sound obvious, but in reality, many people still hand over control of their destiny to circumstances, to other people, to factors beyond their reach. They blame their parents, society, an unfair boss, a betraying friend, the government, or even fate itself. But Stoicism points out that when you blame, you are giving your power away, and that makes you weaker and more helpless than ever. On the other hand, when you dare to take responsibility, it means you accept the truth. You are the one who decides your actions, decides your perspective, decides your reactions. You may not control what others do or the random events of life, but you fully control how you face them. And right there, you rediscover your true power. The journey of mastering your own life begins by stopping the blame. Whenever you face a problem, instead of asking, "Who caused this?" try asking, "What can I do with it?" That question immediately puts you in an active state instead of passively waiting for change to come from the outside. You may not be responsible for everything that happens, but you are always responsible for how you respond. Taking ownership of your actions also means you are ready to take responsibility for the results. Success or failure, right or wrong, it is all part of the process of growth. You learn to accept the consequences of your choices without making excuses or blaming others. And that very courage to face the consequences will make you stronger and wiser. Stoicism also emphasizes that every decision carries consequences. Every action you take today will plant seeds for your future. Whether it is your words, your attitudes, or even the smallest habits, they are all shaping the person you are becoming. Therefore, choose wisely. Ask yourself, does this choice serve my values? Does it nourish my virtue? Does it bring me closer to my long-term goals? If the answer is no, then have the courage to say no. Mastering your own life also means letting go of the illusion of controlling everything. You can only control yourself. You cannot force others to love you. You cannot force the world to work exactly as you wish. What you can do, and always can do, is steer how you think, how you act, and what you place your faith in. Stoicism calls this the ultimate freedom, inner freedom. When you accept full responsibility for your life, you will be surprised to feel a sense of relief because you no longer have to blame anyone, no longer waste energy on anger or self-pity. You return to the original human strength, the ability to choose, the ability to direct, the ability to change and adapt. From there, you will live with more purpose, more meaning. You know that if you fail today, you can still get up and start over tomorrow, as long as you keep your determination and your faith in yourself. And you also understand clearly that if you make the wrong choice, it is an opportunity to learn, not a reason to bury yourself in regret. Mastering your own life is not easy, but it is the only path that helps you grow and truly be free. And once you have truly mastered yourself, you will realize no outside force can make you collapse if you do not allow it. Part 7. Integrity. If there is one quality that Stoicism always emphasizes, it is integrity. This is the core, the compass to guide every action, thought, and word you have. Because integrity means you are honest with yourself, honest with others, and do not betray your core values even when facing pressure or hardship. In today's world, honesty seems rare. Many people are willing to lie, embellish, exaggerate to please others or avoid conflict, to gain quick benefits. But Stoicism teaches that when you do not live truthfully, you are betraying yourself first. You lose trust in yourself. And from there, every foundation you build is shaken. Honesty is not just a matter of morality. It is the only way for you to maintain peace in your soul. Be honest with yourself first. You need the courage to look straight at your weaknesses, your mistakes, the parts of you that are not yet complete. Only when you acknowledge them will you have the chance to adjust and grow. Denying or making excuses will only delay your growth, creating a false mask that easily shatters when challenged. Stoicism advises you to bravely face the truth, even when it is uncomfortable. Next, being honest with others is just as important. It nurtures trust, respect, and healthy relationships. People with integrity rarely have to worry about what they said or did because they are consistent between thought and action. They do not have to lie to cover more lies, nor do they have to play the role of someone perfect. That brings a rare sense of freedom and serenity. Another important aspect that Stoicism upholds is consistency. Integrity means living true to your inner values, not changing with the winds or with outside pressures. Even if others mock you, even if society turns upside down, you still persist with your beliefs and principles. This requires great courage because the world will always try to test your resolve. But when you keep your integrity, you will not be swayed, will not be shaken by public opinion or temptation. Stoicism also reminds us that honesty does not mean perfection. Sometimes you will still make mistakes, still have moments of weakness, but if you dare to admit them and correct them, that is also a precious kind of honesty. Integrity does not demand that you are never wrong, only that you are always true to yourself and responsible for your choices. By maintaining integrity, you will find your life becomes simpler. You do not have to hide, do not have to live in fear of being exposed. You act consistently, speak words you truly believe, do what you truly want. In that way, your self-respect is strengthened, and others will find it easier to trust you as well. Finally, integrity is not just a moral principle, but also a power. It helps you face difficulties calmly and confidently because you know you have nothing to fear. You owe no one an apology for lying. You have no fear of being exposed as fake. Integrity is the shield that protects you from the world's uncertainties and the solid foundation for you to grow sustainably. Remember that honesty is not something too lofty. It is simply telling the truth, living truthfully, and not selling out your values. And when you can do that, you will always be able to hold your head high and walk forward with confidence in any circumstance. Part 8. Emotional balance. One of the most important elements that Stoicism aims for is the ability to balance emotions. Humans cannot avoid emotions. Happiness, sadness, anger, fear, all are natural and normal reactions. But if you let emotions control all your thoughts and actions, they can destroy your peace, pull you into wrong decisions, and damage precious relationships. Stoicism does not ask you to become an emotionless person who cannot feel joy or sorrow. On the contrary, it teaches you to recognize your emotions, observe them, accept that they exist, but not let them take the will of your life. Imagine emotions as clouds drifting across the sky, sometimes dark, sometimes radiant, but eventually they will fade. You are the sky, and emotions are only passing clouds. To do this, you first need to train your ability to observe your inner world. When anger flares up, when worries arise, pause for a moment and ask yourself, why am I feeling this way? What am I truly afraid of? What is this feeling trying to tell me? When you are clear-headed enough to ask those questions, you are already creating the necessary distance between yourself and the wave of emotion, helping you avoid impulsive reactions. One of the most common mistakes people make is acting immediately based on their emotions. When angry, we shout. When sad, we rush to escape. When afraid, we give up. But these actions often bring long-term consequences, damaging relationships or hurting yourself. Stoicism advises that you should react consciously, meaning give yourself a moment of silence to reflect, to ensure that your words and actions truly serve a good purpose instead of simply releasing a temporary impulse. When you can master your emotions, you also become calmer and more resilient in the face of change. You will not be easily provoked by criticism, nor will you rush to drown in praise. You understand that emotions only reflect part of reality, and reality is always more complex than that. This will help you maintain inner stability even when the world around you is chaotic. More importantly, balancing emotions is the key to building and maintaining lasting relationships. In family, in love, in work, conflict is inevitable. But if you know how to regulate your emotions, you will rarely let careless words hurt others, and you will not be easily provoked by their mistakes or shortcomings. You can listen fully, understand, and exchange calmly, which creates a solid foundation to maintain long-term bonds. On the other hand, if you frequently lose control, letting anger or fear lead the way, relationships will quickly crack. People will lose trust, become afraid to open up, and in the end, the distance will only grow. An important part of understanding yourself is recognizing your motivations. What drives your actions? Do you seek recognition, love, safety, or challenge? When you clearly understand your motivations, you will avoid chasing fake goals just to please others or trading away your values for short-term gains. Authentic motivation helps you stay persistent, meaningful, and steady in the face of storms. Alongside that, understanding your habits is also crucial. Habits are like a silent current that determines the quality of your daily life. There are positive habits that bring health, peace, and joy, but there are also negative habits that quietly drain your energy and willpower. Stoicism reminds you to observe carefully. What do you repeat every day? Does it serve your values and goals? If not, you need the courage to change. Another factor that cannot be overlooked is understanding your limits. Every human has boundaries in health, abilities, time, and emotions. Understanding limits does not mean being pessimistic or giving up, but helps you allocate resources wisely, avoiding burnout and imbalance. When you respect your own limits, you will also more easily empathize with the limits of others, from which you can build harmonious and sustainable relationships. Indeed, self-understanding is the foundation for connecting more deeply with others. When you understand yourself, you communicate more clearly, more sincerely. You know how to listen and respect differences. You do not expect anyone to fill the emptiness inside you, nor do you force them to become a perfect version of your imagination. As a result, relationships become more comfortable, breathable, and authentic. Most importantly, understanding yourself is the spark for long-term personal growth. When you clearly see your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities to learn and improve, you will constantly make progress. Step by step, you know how to upgrade your skills, broaden your perspective, and grow stronger after each challenge. This ability to self-reflect builds a person who is resilient, self-reliant, and adaptable. Consider getting to know yourself as a lifelong journey. No one can fully understand themselves in just a few days or months. Every setback, every experience is an opportunity to dig deeper into who you are. And once you understand your inner world, you will always have a solid foundation to stand on, no matter how many changes happen outside. Part 10. Discipline and Consistency. In Stoic philosophy, discipline is considered an indispensable foundation for building a resilient and meaningful life. Stoicism does not just teach people to endure adversity, but also how to train their will, master their habits, and keep their commitments to themselves. Discipline is not a form of coercion, but true freedom, the freedom to escape short-term temptations in order to pursue long-term values. Today, many people associate discipline with harshness, rigidity, and the loss of life's joys. But in fact, Stoicism does not force you to become a cold machine, but encourages you to manage yourself, to set limits so you can reserve energy for what truly matters. When you build discipline, you will have a steady heart, not easily swept away by temporary desires or impulsive reactions. Discipline itself brings inner stability. You know what you need to do, and you do it even when you lack motivation or excitement. Life is not always easy. There will be mornings you wake up feeling discouraged, days filled with exhaustion, situations full of challenge. But discipline reminds you, keep going. Even a small step is better than standing still. Consistency is also a pillar that Stoicism values highly. A disciplined person without consistency easily gives up when facing obstacles, while someone with both discipline and consistency will persist, step by step. Consistency is the power that nurtures good habits and builds confidence in yourself. When you see that you truly can maintain your commitments every day, no matter how small, you will trust your own willpower more. Stoicism encourages you to cultivate strong habits. Waking up early, taking care of your body, training your mind, controlling your emotions, practicing gratitude, or anything that nourishes your inner virtues. These habits are your weapons against procrastination, laziness, and even invisible fears. A person with strong habits will not easily waver in the face of challenges. Discipline and consistency do not just help you achieve external success, such as in career, education, or finances, but also build a steady mindset. Thanks to discipline, you keep your goals clear and avoid distractions. Thanks to consistency, you can accumulate small steps, gradually transforming them into big changes. This is exactly how Stoics build their lives. Not fast, but steady and enduring. One of the greatest challenges on this journey is when you feel tired and lose motivation. In those moments, Stoics still choose to keep moving forward because they understand that exhaustion is only a temporary feeling. While values and meaning remain, they do not give up, nor do they let themselves drift off course because of a few weak moments. That is the extraordinary power of discipline, lifting you up even when your spirit is fragile. Finally, Stoicism reminds you that practicing discipline and consistency is not for showing off, but for nurturing a simple yet sustainable life, a peaceful heart even amid life's turbulence. And thanks to this foundation, you can move forward steadily, building true meaning for your life no matter what challenges await ahead. Part 11. The ability to adapt to change. One of life's inescapable truths is change. Everything around you changes. Work, people, circumstances, health, and even yourself. Stoicism not only accepts this reality, but sees it as an essential part of existence. Instead of fearing and resisting, Stoicism advises you to see change as an opportunity to grow and renew yourself. When you resist change, you are binding yourself to an outdated reality, and that only leads to suffering. You want things to stay the same forever, but life never stands still. The more you cling to the past, the more you are pulled backward, losing the ability to enjoy the present and welcome the future. Stoicism teaches that every upheaval, whether painful or challenging, carries within it an opportunity for you to rebuild, learn, and grow stronger. To do that, you need to cultivate flexibility. Flexibility does not mean being spineless or going whichever way the wind blows, but rather the ability to adapt, knowing how to change your perspective, adjust your plans, and open your heart to new things. For example, when your career hits a dead end, a flexible person does not despair, but looks for another direction. When a relationship cracks, they do not completely collapse, but look for ways to mend it or move on. Adaptability is also an essential skill to help you survive and thrive in modern society, where everything changes rapidly. Technology, trends, and economic social conditions are always shifting. And if you do not know how to adapt, you will be left behind. Stoics understand this well, and they actively train an open mind, daring to learn, daring to innovate when needed. Another important thing is not letting negativity pull you down when change happens. People tend to see upheaval as a threat, feel fear, insecurity, and then sink themselves in pessimism. Stoicism advises you to observe those feelings, but do not let them control you. Ask, what is this change teaching me? What opportunities does it open up? When you shift from a victim mindset to a learner's mindset, change becomes less frightening and instead a new motivation. A crucial skill to foster adaptability is managing your thoughts. Remember that negative thinking often exaggerates fear, making you paralyzed. But if you know how to observe and adjust your thinking, you will maintain calm and clarity. Stoicism always emphasizes only your attitude and choices truly belong to you. Therefore, choose an open mindset, stay firm with your values, but flexible in your methods. When you have trained adaptability, change is no longer an enemy, but a valuable teacher. It forces you out of your comfort zone, challenges you, helps you discover potential within yourself you never suspected. Gradually, you will feel more confident in any circumstance because you know you can adjust to survive and thrive. Finally, Stoicism reminds you that inner peace does not come from trying to keep everything the same, but from accepting the flow of life and knowing how to swim with it. When you can welcome change with a courageous heart and a clear mind, then no storm can knock you down for long. Part 12. Experience and Wisdom. If there is something that truly builds human strength, it is experience. Stoicism believes that wisdom is not born from books or empty words, but forged through every failure, every victory, every relentless effort. Experience is the greatest, harshest, yet fairest classroom because it gives you invaluable lessons if you are willing to open your heart to learn. Every time you stumble, every time you make a mistake, is an opportunity to understand the world and yourself better. You learn to adjust, to draw lessons, and to grow. Victories, whether big or small, also give you more confidence, strengthening your inner power and the motivation to keep moving forward. And even in moments when you put in effort but do not yet reach success, you can still harvest so much: willpower, patience, perseverance. Stoicism also reminds you that experience only becomes wisdom when you take time to reflect and share it. A lesson is only truly complete when it is illuminated by humility and openness. Humility to accept that you do not know everything, that you can still be wrong and still have more to learn. Openness to listen to other people's perspectives, to compare and enrich your own understanding. True wisdom is not something closed off and complacent, but a continuous flow. It grows every time you exchange, share, and receive. When you dare to talk about your failures, dare to talk about what you have not yet achieved, you not only learn more, but also inspire and give hope to others. This creates a community that grows together, where people support each other instead of just comparing and competing. Stoicism encourages you to turn experience into your greatest asset. That asset can never be lost, can never be stolen, and will always be with you, ready to support you in any situation. When facing a new challenge, you can reflect on your past experiences to draw out appropriate responses. When standing before a tough decision, the wisdom nurtured by experience will guide you to make a wiser choice. It is important not to take experience lightly. Do not think that failure is just bad luck or success is just fortune. Dig deeper to see why you failed, why you succeeded, what helped you stand up, what made you fall. This process of self-questioning is what turns experience into true wisdom. Above all, wisdom must be nurtured by an open heart. When you are humble, you can receive advice, correct mistakes, and also easily inspire others. When you are open, you are not afraid of innovation, not afraid of adjusting, and always ready to learn new skills, perspectives, or values. That is an invisible yet solid power that helps you rise in any situation. Finally, Stoicism reminds you not to keep wisdom only for yourself. Share it with friends, colleagues, loved ones, or even with strangers. Because when you share, you also engrave that lesson deeper into your own mind, making it a natural part of who you are. And through spreading wisdom in that way, you make your experience more valuable, not only for yourself, but for the entire community. Part 13, Purposeful Action. One of the core perspectives of Stoicism is this: action is more important than wishing. You can dream, you can hope, you can draw countless beautiful scenarios, but if you do not act, it will all forever stay on paper. Stoics understand that all change, all improvement in life only comes when you bravely start taking action, and that action must come from a clear purpose. Purposeful action means you know what you are aiming for. You do not just act to cope, to chase others, or to gain approval. You act for the values you believe in, for goals that truly hold meaning for you. When you have a purpose, every step you take, every choice you make becomes stronger and more determined, because it is guided by an inner compass, not by the push and pull of outside circumstances. Of course, purposeful action also demands patience. The path to sustainable change is always long and full of challenges. You will face failure, stumbles, moments of self-doubt. But patience reminds you to keep going, reminds you not to give up before you have given your best. Stoics do not look for instant results. They know that great value often takes time and effort to reap. Another essential factor is holding firmly to your values. On the journey of taking action, many temptations will appear. Quick shortcuts, easy promises, compromises that cost your dignity. Stoicism emphasizes that no matter how great the challenge, you should never betray your values. Because when you sell out your values, you lose yourself, and any success that follows will feel hollow. Equally important is to take responsibility for the results. When you act, you must be aware that every choice comes with consequences. If the outcome is good, do not become complacent. Keep learning and improving. If the outcome is bad, do not blame others or curse your fate, but courageously own up, draw lessons, and stand up to try again. The Stoic spirit believes your true power lies in mastering your reactions and attitudes, even when reality does not favor you. Every conscious, purposeful step you take helps build a better future. You might not see results immediately, but each decision today is planting seeds for tomorrow. A kind word, a good habit, an honest choice, all like small bricks, gradually building a solid foundation for your future. Stoics do not chase flashy glory or quick results. They choose to build their lives with perseverance, clarity of purpose, and an unyielding spirit before challenges. Thanks to this, no matter how the world changes, they can still keep their will strong, walking the path they have freely chosen without being swayed by circumstances or outside judgment. Finally, remember that purposeful action is not a form of rigid pressure or stress, but a conscious way of living. It helps you savor every moment, know exactly what you are doing, why you are doing it, and be ready to accept the results calmly. This gives you a profound inner freedom because you understand that your future is built by your own steady hands and heart. Final part. Stoicism is not about denying pain, but about transforming it. It is about controlling what you can, accepting what you cannot, and finding freedom in that simple truth. The journey of practicing Stoicism, no matter where you start in life, leads you to the same core: mastering yourself. There is no path that frees you from hardship completely, but Stoicism offers you a different way: to face hardship with courage and serenity. It does not ask you to deny pain or pretend to be invincible, but encourages you to accept pain as a natural part of the human condition. And beyond that, it guides you to transform pain into strength, into lessons, into true growth. When you clearly understand what lies within your control and what does not, you will relieve yourself of countless unnecessary burdens. You no longer have to exhaust yourself trying to manage things beyond your reach. You learn to let go of what is not yours to control while focusing all your energy on what you can change: your attitude, your reactions, your thoughts, and your actions. That is the inner freedom that Stoicism brings, a freedom that is not shaken by circumstances, not dependent on praise or turmoil. You will walk through a turbulent world with a steady heart because you know who you are, what truly matters, and where your boundaries lie. Finally, Stoicism reminds you that every day is an opportunity to train and grow. Act with purpose, live with values, and always keep humility and openness in your heart. Because when you can control what is in your hands, accept what is beyond you, and learn to turn pain into motivation, then nothing can stop you from living a life that is deeply meaningful and free.